Hello, and today we'll be playing Hills Advent. We're going to start day 13 for Kody. Good morning, Master Dave. Tensai speaking. Oh, Tensai, never thought I'd speak to you over the phone like this. I was actually expecting Kody. Well, you see, the boss man seems really inspired today. He's helping with the breakfast for us as we speak. Oh, really? Indeed. Even Ash was quite taken aback. But anywho, Kody asked me to let you know your party will be having breakfast in the canteen. Alright, thank you, Ten. I'll head down soon. Thank you. Bon appetit. You make your way from the dorms to the honeysuckle. Inside was the usual morning crowd enjoying their breakfast with a few exceptions. Behind the counter, Kody and Tensai were manning the kitchen, the bear furiously tending to the steaming pot and pans as the canine served the floor along with the snow leopard. Hey, Dave, over here. You heard Ray calling from a booth in a corner of the restaurant. Come on, I say the table for all of us, and the seats just for you. He patted on his lap, inviting you in with open arms. If that's the right way, I'll just take a seat over there. He gave the dragon a secret smile as you sit opposite of him. Alright, suit yourself. So are you excited for the trip? A little nervous, actually. Had a dream last night that told me to be careful. A dream, huh? After what we witnessed there last time, I'd say that's a good idea. Right? Yeah, it's alright, Dave. It's just whatever. Oh, they're here. You notice Max and Alex as they walked into the honeysuckle together. You both waved at them to let them know where you were. Dave, why? Good morning. Max, Al. Morning. Alex stepped into the seat beside you, letting Max sit next away as the two quickly jumped into what you assumed was a light-hearted bickering over protocols with a kite tree. Although as agreed before, they both refrained from speaking of it in too much details. Our transport is prepared. He looked to Alex as he whispered, once we finish eating, we can get out to that kite as soon as possible. Come on now. We're all going on a mission as a team again. At least you can do is enjoy it. This is hardly the time for leisure activities, right? Sure, maybe, but with the way you skip meals out, you should at least try to take it easy and eat. He's right, you know. If you eat in such a hurry, you're going to choke. Nah, Cody's pancakes are the fluffiest things you'll ever eat. You won't choke on it. Unlike some prime boiled sausages you had before. Guy's phrasing. Before he got into a rowdy argument over Ray's innuendo, clearly having fun getting a rise out of the rest of you. Thankfully, Kody and Tensai arrived at the table. The bear was balancing a large stack of pancakes in each hand. Then the canine self was right behind him, carrying a tray of silverware and an assortment of jars. Quite a lively party. He has some rather spirited companions, boss. Well, that's a lot of pancakes. You weren't kidding. I suppose it helps to stay well fed before the travels. Yep. Alright, Demi. You really outdid yourself. Tensai helped me prepare the ingredients last night. We just barely managed to rush this morning. Right, well, thanks, Ten. It's a pleasure. Ray reached over to take one stack from Kody, letting him place the other stacks onto the table. Kody finally joined the group, taking a seat opposite from you. Alright, these are my favorite marshmallow pancakes. They're extra fluffy and creamy. For toppings, we got maple syrup, spring honey, and strawberry, blackberry, prickleberry jams. Look at the other guys. You weren't quite sure if anyone heard the bear, as they had already begun digging in, serving their portions onto their plates. The table had broken out into a frenzy as hands reached around for toppings and sides, piling their plates high with savory and sweetness. You helped yourself to the pancakes, sitting back to let Kody serve himself his own set. Getting your hands on the toppings once everyone had finished, you couldn't wait to dig into them. Now that you're ready, now that you're already so familiar with Kody's flavors. Although you could only get a few cuts in before you realized the eyes on you. Huh? Something wrong, Kody? You are eating. The bear was shaking out of his thoughts, letting out a satisfied chuckle. You really chowed down on those cakes. Yep, it's amazing, Kody. I didn't think pancakes could be so light and satisfying at the same time. No kidding. If I didn't like meat so much, I'd love to eat this every day. Can't argue with that, though. I think I love meat just a little more. Why? Seriously. Can you put those jokes away for a little while? Oh, and when should I pull them out, Al? Alright, that's not the point. Well, to be fair, you weren't asking for it, Alex. And speaking about asking, hey Kody, why are these called marshmallow pancakes? It's just a recipe a customer shared with me during one of the visits. The secret is to jam egg whites, whip them up until stiff and fold into the batter. You also have to steam them before frying. It gives you the golden crust while not losing the pillowy texture. It's a lot of prep work, that's why I need to prepare it the night before. Kody went on about the details as you listened intently. You didn't understand everything he was saying, especially about the native ingredients. But it made you happy to see him go on about the process with a proud smile on his face. That seemed to be something Ray relished in as well. Once all you cleaned your plates, you joined Kody in stacking the plates and cutlery back onto the tray. Heard the heavy footfalls and recognizable growl of the hooves as Max directed them to where you were, stopping right in front of the group. Behind the carriage was a second cart covered by a large tarp. You could see the familiar mantle and wooden tools from Alex's lap underneath. The Lynx quickly went over to perform one last security check just to make sure his equipment was safe before hopping inside the carriage. I'll need a space to continue to set up on my communicator, the Lynx said as he climbed into the cabin first. Guess I'll come with Al just in case. The dragon quickly climbed into the cabin as well. So, are we sitting in the back? Sure, I don't see anywhere else we could sit. Unless, well, you prefer to stick with Max instead. Kody, I'm sorry for that time, you know? I didn't mean anything by it, alright? I guess so. Sorry, let's just get going, Dave. Yeah, let's. Everyone ready? Everything's secure in the rear. Yep, ready when you are, Max. Alright, on your. Yeah. Max spurred on the hills as they began to trot their way out of the city. As you rode through the city streets, you saw a few other carriages heading in the opposite direction, carrying what appeared to be furniture and luggage. You wondered if those were the same people planning to leave the city for a place they deemed safer out there, all because they no longer trusted in the gear on Lisa's protection. There were still many sights and stalls still in business, houses with residents dwelling about, but everything felt just that bit quieter, just enough to be noticeable. It did not take long before you exited the city and onto the farmlands on the outer edges of Crystal Coast. Whoop. The carriage jostled lightly as the hover pads briefly faltered without its crystal stabilizers before falling back on its crystal reserves. The ride was noticeably bumpier than the one from Elisa's cabin to Crystal Coast. It must have been an hour or so into the ride. The tense atmosphere made it hard to keep track of the time. You looked to Kody as he started humming to himself. The melody felt hypnotic. From behind, you could hear Ray mumbling something you couldn't make you couldn't quite make out the exact words, but the tempo seemed to match up with Kody's humming. Then Alex joined in, mumbling even quieter than Ray until you heard Max from the front, chatting loud enough for you to hear. You couldn't help but try to match their chorus as the checkpoint slowly came into view over the hill. As they arrived at the checkpoint, the guys wasted no time dismounting the car from the carriage while Max guided the hooves towards the checkpoint stable. Ray, on the other hand, headed straight into the office to get the permit validated before you all could head further in. You carried it too well, Dave. Oh, you heard me? Not really heard, no. I could just feel your vibe with us. I don't see why you three insist on singing that old marching Candace. What do you mean, Alex? You were singing along as well. What? I didn't know such thing. It was nice. It kind of reminds me of when we used to sing in the car on our way back from the conventions. The two gave you odd looks as they take in what you said. A car, you say? Is that like your phone? The Lynx looked at you somewhat starry-eyed, expectantly to get a head start on another invention. Kody, for his part, seemed wide-eyed and concerned. Conventions, you were summoned to participate in conventions. I wasn't summoned for it. I went willingly. Before you could clarify what you were talking about, Ray and Max returned with your permits in hand. They each took one of the straps meant to attach to the hoses harnesses before pulling the cart along. You stepped out of its way as it jostled lightly upon crossing the threshold into the forest. Alex, however, refused to give up the chase for his curiosity and press you on the topic some more. And what of that car you mentioned? What sort of vehicle is it? You were unsure whether to answer the Lynx in earnest or just make something up for the sake of it. Yeah, already you let it slip of the various concerts you've been to during those conventions, which by then even Ray had grown curious. Oh, now I want to hear what kind of music you used to sing to. Maybe we can hit up a band when we get back. You said the convention was like our festival, right? You didn't elaborate on that. Guys, don't bother Dave like that if he doesn't want to answer those questions. Matt, on the other hand, scolded from the front, still focused on guiding the group with Ray. It's alright. I've actually been thinking about where I came from recently. It was only one thing you said then, and they already had a lot of questions. What should you start with? Out of curiosity, you asked everyone on the definition of a convention, which turned out to be a form of business gathering akin to congressional meetings. You then explained in brief terms of that conventions in your world were more like festivals celebrating what people want. Quite intentionally, you skirted around the fact that you only ever attended furry conventions instead of elaborating the range of things these festivals could be about. Kody showed great interest, and Bear was rather curious whether there was one such convention for sales. And while a fun concept to toy with, you admitted that you've never heard of a convention hosted by sales only, but it was entirely in the realm of possibility. The others then chimed in with ideas for conventions of their own. Ray suggested a meet and greet and get together that was pretty much speed dating in a nutshell. Alex's ideal convention was similar to those Sonic's Inventions Expo, while Master's fascination over competitive sports sounded more or less like the Olympics. You had many a thing to comment on regarding their ideas, but you decided to keep it to yourself, lest you had to go into any more details than you already had to divulge. Thankfully, the guys quickly took over the conversation, bantering and joking about each other's ideas as you move along. You decided to not elaborate any further, to which the others promptly let you be as soon as they got the hint. Oh, we're here. He slowed down as the crew arrived upon the clearing at the base of Kody. Hey, what can I do to help, Kody? Oh well, I don't need too much help. All this is fairly simple, you know. What are you doing actually? I guess it would be easy to show you. Kody circled around the clearing as he instructed you to step back. It wasn't long before he stomped on a particular spot, nodded to himself as he assumed a stance. Then you could feel the ground shaking very lightly as if resonating with the bear himself. Visible stalagmites began to form around him as they began dislodging the uneven dirt and grass, several of them to the sides almost like spades. It took only about a minute, and the space around Kody was turned into a neatly tiled plot of land. As the stalagmites dissolved, the excess dirt and vegetation that was shoved to the side are massed onto the ground as if it was originally there to begin with. Whoa. There, that should take care of the space for the tents and fire pit. That was pretty cool. Really beats having to till the soil by hand, huh? Indeed. Alright, Dave, over here. Yeah, what do you need? Ooh. Almost without warning, the bear dragged a huge metallic device from the cooking equipment Matt's placed earlier and passed it over to you. You flinched visibly, though thankfully was still able to withstand the sheer weight of the whole thing. Jeez, what the heck is this thing? It kind of looks like a shield. Ah, it's the collapsible cooking pot I bought yesterday when I was passing by the market district. I didn't think of how heavy it could be for most people. Still, you seem to be doing just fine, Dave. I'm impressed. Thanks. So, hang on to it for me while I figure out how to set it up properly, would you? Yeah, sure. Just don't take too long, please. Now let's see. Kody felt along the bottom of the pot for a while before an audible click could be heard and followed suit where the collapsible legs for the pots to stand on. There, you can place it down now. You almost threw the whole thing onto the ground, though thankfully it seemed as sturdy as it looked. Good. Nothing looks broken. Thanks, Dave. You're welcome. You stepped away to catch your breath as Kody set up the rest of the cooking station as well as the fire pit. You sat with Kody by the fire pit as the bear kept watch over the cooking pot. A faint aroma wafting from which indicated that lunch was just about to be ready. Lunch is ready, everyone. After Kody called out to everyone, you could see Max and Alex dropping what they were doing sat around the crates that used to house the Lynx's equipment. Ray also returned after a moment, taking his seat by the pit as Kody began serving everyone lunch. Looked down at the hardwood bowl Kody passed to you, and you felt perplexed. Inside it seemed to be a gloopy, stringy, chunky mass of pale broth. You pulled at it cautiously with your spoon while Alex seemed to have no problem slurping the soup dutifully. You could see Max swallowing his trepidation before letting it out alongside. I definitely didn't miss this part of clamping. Not gotta tell me twice. Guys. Once it's ready, everyone. After Kody called out to everyone, you could see Max and Alex dropping what they were doing and sat around the crates that used to house the Lynx's equipment. Ray also returned after a moment, taking his seat by the pit as Kody began serving everyone lunch. You looked down at the hardwood bowl Kody passed to you. You felt perplexed. Inside seemed to be a goopy, swiggy, chunky mass of pale broth. You poured at it cautiously with your spoon, while Alex seemed to have no problem slurping the soup dutifully. You could see Matt swallowing his trepidation before letting out alongside. I definitely didn't miss this part of camping. Don't gotta tell me twice. Sorry guys, since there really aren't any other ways to transport rations long term, we'll have to make do with this. Honestly, it's not so bad as you guys make it to be. If you close your eyes, you can hardly tell the difference from Kody's usual meals. Alex said nonchalantly, eyes closed, as he casually shuffled the group of slugs of a gruel into his mouth. I think I'll pass. Probably can still hold out until dinner anyway. You're lost, right? Actually, Kody, you still got some of those nut bars? Yes, but those are emergency rations, right? For emergencies. Yeah? Well, this is an emergency, Kody. I'm starving, you see. Kody gave Ray an unambiguous look as he pulled two of his nutritious snacks from his pocket and gave them to the dragon. He also passed another few to you and Max. Sweet. Ah, nice. Thanks, Kody. Max happily accepted them, crossing them into the gruel, giving it an almost granola and yogurt appearance before digging in. Yeah, you're welcome. You look down at your lap between the bars and the bowl. What do you eat? Well, that's Kody's route, so I think he'd be happy if you ate his gruel or soup. You decided to set the bars aside for the moment as you took up the bowl while it was still warm. Scooping a server into your spoon, you couldn't help but fixate on how the whole white glob just jiggled anonymously as you bring it to your mouth. You had to hold back your gag reflex as the slimy texture clung to the roof of your mouth, like some kind of demonic peanut butter. You just spat it out if it didn't taste fantastic. You took another spoonful after a moment, this time around realizing that it didn't have any particular smell. This taste was somewhere between sweet, savory, and salty. This is actually really good. What is this? It's an instant soup mix that Alex helped me develop. Mineral CX257 is used as a meal preservative for long-distance travels. You sprinkle it over any food to dehydrate it, and then stew it to rehydrate. It keeps for days outside refrigeration. The only issue has been that the texture gets mangled. At least it still tastes the same as the original dish, without the same nutrients. Same great taste, none of the joy. Yeah, maybe someday we'll get it right. Until then, you'll just have to make it fresh for us. I guess there's no helping it. Alright, Ryan and I will go out and hunt some game meat for dinner and breakfast tomorrow. We'll stay here to keep watch over the tree and the readings. Stay in contact with your phones. They still work out here? The Kai functioning like the GC, things that worked in the city still work as they should here, at least in theory. We've managed without these fancy gadgets before, we'll be fine. As you say, don't stay out there too late. We shouldn't split up for too long. Alright? You stay behind. Watson, Max, and Ray depart together for the woods, bickering and bantering as they cross the tree line out of sight. Those two never changed, did they? Not one bit, still as boneheaded as ever. And heading back to the tree to keep track of the crystal readouts. Call me if anything comes up, Kody. Same to you, Alex. If you think something's off, come get me right away. With a curt nod, Alex headed off to Kai's base where his machine has been whirring away. You turn back to Kody to see him already setting himself up to put away what remained of the meal, unceremoniously pouring the moldy gruel into the fire, careful not to put it out. Even you didn't like it, huh? It's useful for emergency rations, but I'll take freshly cooked any day. No arguments there. Your food always a welcoming sight. Glad you approve of it so highly, Dave. But you should try my cell special sometime. Guarantee it's gonna be even better. Given all the things I've heard, I'd rather not. Why does everyone always say that? You grab one of the water jugs and help Kody wash the wooden plates and utensils while he washed out his pot. It didn't take long for you both to finish setting them aside for dinner. You took a seat on one of the logs Max had brought closer for seating. Kody, however, continued to putter about grabbing some of the satchels of ingredients he brought with him, pouring out a few root vegetables and non-perishables. The bear looked like he was already raring to start preparations for dinner. He watched him for a moment, seemingly lost in his work. Even with the bothersome armor on, he seemed no less dexterous than he was in the kitchen. Back in his element, even if the workload was lighter as he only tended to one pot at a time, as opposed to all the burners and counters back in the honeysuckle. Come to think of it, ever since he started helping with the Nether investigation, Kody always seemed most eager to get back to his kitchen at the end of the day. It's not like the mercenary life, Kody? You found yourself saying the quiet part out loud as Kody paused to look at you while scraping the vegetable he had just diced into a pan. Ah, sorry, I didn't mean to say that. It's not that I don't like the mercenary life, Dave, but I don't think I'm cut out for it anymore. I mean, Max and Ray seem to think you are. So does Alaric. You all used to be a team after all. What happened? Is it really important, Dave? We're together as a team again, and Dave welcomed me back readily. What more is there to talk about? Yeah, they're more than happy to have you back, and yet you were still so reluctant to return. The bear frowned, looking back to his cutting board, avoiding your gaze entirely. He reached over, grabbing one of the knives in his leather kit, along with one of the larger vegetables to join him. There wasn't another word exchanged between you for a while. The atmosphere around the crackling campfire has become tense. You split your attention between Kody and your work, handing him the ingredients he finished to pour into the pots. It wasn't until the first pot began to simmer that he finally broke the silence. Where will I even begin? Well, the beginning is always a good place to start. The beginning. Kody's face grunts up at the thought, already making the difficult subject even harder to approach. How do you become a part of the team in the first place? Kody visibly relaxed, sitting up and making eye contact with you. Will you believe that I came here for the same reason I'm here now? Not here with the team, that is, but back at the honeysuckle. I had aspirations to open a restaurant in Crystal Coast, given everything I heard from the traveling merchants. It seemed like a good place to start a business with the ongoing war. Everyone has to eat, right? Sounds pretty straightforward, you think? They told me that in Steklograd, people spoke many languages, but you'd be lucky to find anyone speaking Faborian. Steklograd, is that Crystal Coast? Back home, that was what we called the city. Right, I guess things weren't exactly easy when you first got here. Oh, it was hard at first, that's for sure. Language barrier and all that. Just as well, our customs are rather foreign to those here. I found it difficult to express myself well. They say Crystal Coast was lucrative, but only for businesses that had established commerce. Opening a new business was it really as clear-cut cut as it seemed. With the war on the evil king, I can imagine. Didn't you consider that? I guess I was taken in by the merchant's honeyed words and fantastical projections. A bear falling for the hunting trap. Yes, why has made that joke to me already? So what do you do? I joined the academy so I could take on work as a mercenary. I'd almost say completely the course was harder than finding a foothold in the market. Is the academy that hard? Indeed it is. It is a matter of life and death. They stress that to us a lot. Something I had to hear twice over after having to repeat the resume my first year. Were held back? Yes, my lack of familiarity with the language made the scholar side of my education slow. But the added year helped me better understand the language. I'm grateful for that. It was then when Alaric noticed my potential and paired me with Ray and Max as a team that had already worked well together. Alaric believed that they could help me feel more welcome. And did they make you feel welcome? Indeed. And tints of pink seemed to adorn the bear's cheeks as the memories come to him. Yes, they made me feel very welcome, especially Ray. The bear let out a chuff as he smiled openly from cheek to cheek. I hope we've made you feel welcome too, Dave. Of course. Kody looked back down at the pot, staring at the round, smiling placidly to himself. I eventually forgot about opening that restaurant. Mercenary work was hard, but familiar. Familiar in what ways? Back in Svaboya, I used to be a boxer, one of the common entertainment for us. And the skill native to bartenders to protect against rowdy customers. Instinctively, he touched the back of his head, wincing only slightly as at some phantom pain. I was given proper combat training while I was in the academy. Not a necessarily easy feat when you fought fists against swords and spears. You actually fought against blades with your fists? Yes, it was not uncommon for Boya either, the daily drunk herself, broken bottle, or just their claws. But the Gallanteers are far more trained than your average Verbodian drunk, if maybe less sturdier. It took some time for the other two to get used to seeing me jump into battle just using my fists. Max always stayed behind with his crossbow while Ray and I took the front line with his daggers. That's dangerous. You're right, it was pretty reckless. It was very reckless to have us both there. I suppose I came to learn that lesson the hard way. Kody, you could say it wasn't any more dangerous than it was in Verbodia. Not many of us could use focus stones, mostly raw strength we'd come to rely on. And so magic wasn't a common thing for the working class. When I got my focus gem, well, it took some getting used to my powers. As I imagine you did too when you learned yours. Now it was your turn to look away, remembering nearly blowing Alex's lab sky high. After that, I would always go into battle with reckless abandon. With earth armor, barriers, and a ranged attack of my own, I felt unstoppable. It was almost intoxicating as Auntie Brun's mid. Kody set aside the pen and wooden spoon for a moment to flex and pose. Alex was not impressed when he first joined us as a cadet. Kody's body froze as all the mirth was drained from his body, posture going slack as he avoided eye contact with you again. He realized that one of the pans was starting to burn, turning his full attention to the parts from the trip down memory lane. He noticed you only had half a sliced onion in your hands. He decided to keep cutting. It's not like the mercenary life, Kody? You found yourself saying the quiet part out loud as Kody paused to look at you while scraping the vegetable he had just diced into a pan. Ah, sorry, I didn't mean to say that. It's not that I don't like the mercenary life, Dave, but I don't think I'm cut out for it anymore. Max and Ray seem to think you are. So does Alaric. You all used to be a team after all. Uh-huh. What happened? Is it really important, Dave? We're together as a team again, and Dave welcomed me back readily. What more is there to talk about? Yeah, they're more than happy to have you back, and yet you were still so reluctant to return. The rare frown, looking back to his cutting board, avoiding your gaze entirely. He reached over, grabbing one of the knives in his leather kit, along with one of the larger vegetables to join him. There wasn't another word exchanged between you for a while. The atmosphere around the crackling campfire has become tense. You split your attention between Kody and your work, handing him the ingredients he finished to pour into the pots. It wasn't until the first pot began to simmer that he finally broke the silence. Where will I even begin? Well, the beginning is always a good place to start. The beginning. Cody's face grunts up at the thought, already making the difficult subject even harder to approach. How do you become a part of the team in the first place? Kody visibly relaxed, sitting up and making eye contact with you. Will you believe that I came here for the same reason I'm here now? Not here with the team, that is, but back at the honeysuckle. I had aspirations to open a restaurant in Crystal Coast, given everything I heard from the traveling merchants. It seemed like a good place to start a business with the ongoing war. Everyone has to eat, right? Sounds pretty straightforward, you think? They told me that in Steklograd, people spoke many languages, but you'd be lucky to find anyone speaking Faborian. Steklograd, is that Crystal Coast? Back home, that was what we called the city. Right, I guess things weren't exactly easy when you first got here. Oh, it was hard at first, that's for sure. Language barrier and all that. This as well. Our customs are rather foreign to those here. I found it difficult to express myself well. They say Crystal Coast was lucrative, but only for businesses that had established commerce. Opening a new business was it really as clear-cut as it seemed? With the war on the evil king, I can imagine. Didn't you consider that? I guess I was taken in by the merchants' honeyed words and fantastical projections. A bear falling for the honey trap. Yes, why has made that joke to me already? So what do you do? I joined the academy so I could take on work as a mercenary. I'd almost say completely the course was harder than finding a foothold in the market. Is the academy that hard? Indeed it is. It is a matter of life and death. They stress that to us a lot. Something I had to hear twice over after having to repeat the resume my first year. We're held back? Yes, my lack of familiarity with the language made the scholar side of my education slow. But the added year helped me better understand the language. I'm grateful for that. It was then when Alaric noticed my potential and paired me with Ray and Max as a team. They had already worked well together. Alaric believed that they could help me feel more welcome. And did they make you feel welcome? Indeed. Until the pink seemed to adorn the bear's cheeks as the memories come to him. Yes, they made me feel very welcome, especially Ray. The bear let out a chuff as he smiled openly from cheek to cheek. I hope we've made you feel welcome too, Dave. Of course. Kody looked back down at the pot, staring at the round, smiling placidly to himself. I eventually forgot about opening that restaurant. Mercenary work was hard, but familiar. Familiar in what ways? Back in Fabolia, I used to be a boxer, one of the common entertainment for us. And the skill native to bartenders to protect against rowdy customers. Instinctively, he touched the back of his head, wincing only slightly at some phantom pain. I was given proper combat training while I was in the academy. not a necessarily easy feat when you fight fists against swords and spears. You actually fought against blades with your fists? Yes, it was not uncommon for Boya either, the jelly drunk herself, broken bottle, or just their claws. But the Gallanteers are far more trained than your average Verbodian drunk, if maybe less sturdier. It took some time for the other two to get used to seeing me jump into battle just using my fists. Max always stayed behind with his crossbow while Wyatt and I took the front line with his daggers. That's dangerous. You're right, it was pretty reckless. It was very reckless to have us both there. I suppose I came to learn that lesson the hard way. Kody, you could say it wasn't any more dangerous than it was in Verbodia. Not many of us could use focus stones, mostly raw strength we come to rely on. And so magic wasn't a common thing for the working class. When I got my focus gem, well, it took some getting used to my powers. As I imagine you did too when you learned yours. Now it was your turn to look away, remembering nearly blowing Alex's lab sky high. After that, I would always go into battle with reckless abandon. With earth armor, barriers, and a ranged attack of my own, I felt unstoppable. It was almost intoxicating as Auntie runs mid. Kody set aside the pen and wooden spoon for a moment to flex and pose. Alex was not impressed when he first joined us as a cadet. Kody's body froze as all the mirth was drained from his body, posture going slack as he avoided eye contact with you again. He realized that one of the pans was starting to burn, turning his full attention to the parts from the trip down memory lane. He noticed you only had half a sliced onion in your hands. He decided to keep cutting. He continued working diligently, not as fast as Kody, but still enough to keep up with his needs for the distance. When you looked up, you noticed that he's been watching you as you worked. When did you get so good at handling knives? What are you talking about? You taught me how to cook, Kody. It was you. Yeah, I suppose you aren't wrong. You really are a quick study, Dave. Well, I had the best teacher. With the side dishes prepared and set aside, Kody sat back down, seemingly collecting himself after the conversation. After a moment, you gathered enough courage to speak up again. So, you and Ray used to be together, right? Yes, I guess you could say that. We, did have history together. Ray had taken an interest in me since I had joined the academy from the start. We had met when I was still training in the academy. I was held back a year due to the language barrier and being unable to understand the field lectures they gave. Field lectures? Yeah, something mandatory for all new recruits. Is that so? You were quite the exception, Dave. Though that is unsurprising given your unique circumstances. Normally, you are put through the scholar and physical courses with the guild's trainers to be assigned a role in a team. Alaric assigned me specifically to Max and Ray's team. Right. Were you and Ray dating by then? No, I don't think Master Alaric would have put us together if you knew that. So how did you start dating? Officially, only sometime after Alex had joined the team. But we did things before then. Things? The bear scratched at his cheeks sheepishly as they grew redder. Yes, you've seen how Wyatt can be, and the way he makes so many sexual comments. He has always been that way, ever since I met him, though I admit it was far more intense towards me in those days. He had taken an interest in you. Yes, during training and later after missions. He would always make jokes and remarks like that. He was utterly relentless. He stopped for a moment to take a settling breath. Did you like the attention? I'd be lying to say I didn't. He always had a way of making me feel special, like I was supposed to be here. Sounds like you two were very close. Very close. Extremely close. He was always very open about his intentions with me. Always looking for me after missings after practice or stopping by the honeysuckle. Even back then you'd go there, huh? Yes, my history of the place well enough by now. In our private quarters or in a moment to ourselves, he was always affectionate. Despite my appearance, Roy was always eager to bring me to his room or spend the night in mine. Spending the night in his garden or walking around the greenhouse at night, and I was always happy to share my hobbies and meals with him, sharing stories from back home. Even if I didn't get to open the restaurant, someone still appreciated my cooking. It sounded like you two were doing well together. How did it all go wrong? Kody stopped again, directed his attention over the cookery, beginning to take them off the fire as they finished cooking. Kody looked up to you for a moment, catching you almost burning the sauce. Careful, Dave. Campfires aren't as reliable as kitchen burners. He gingerly took the saucepan from your hand, steering quickly to prevent it from burning towards the bottom. You gave him a look of concern as his own expression showed, knowing you caught on to his stalling. Wordlessly, he kept stirring until the sauce seemed ready before storing them away with everything else. You're left with the crackling of the fire as the only sound between you as you finished preparing the cold sides. His movements were becoming far more agitated, alternating between squaring his shoulders and slumping with heavy sighs. He looked to you warily, searching your features for judgment of all you've heard. You gave a firm nod, letting him know you're listening. Go ahead, Kody. 2 years ago, we were sent on a delicate escort mission to deliver supplies for the Aegis Mining and Fabrication Company. Let's say we're in the city, the very same. It was a routine mission, deliver the traders to the market and bring them back with their cargo intact. Alex was with us. He was beginning to get the gist of mercenary life, though you could tell his passion was always with crystals. The whole time he was talking our ears off about their uses and the benefits these imports could do for the city. Max only ever cared about the mission at hand. He was taking point leading the caravan hoods at the front. The only thing on his mind was the feast that we were promised on delivery. Why and I were taking the rear, bragging and flirting with one another. The escort had been generally uneventful. The Aegis company had taken pains to ensure the route wasn't intercepted, but they spared no expense. Not that it did us any good in the end. What do you mean in the end? It was my fault, Dave. I'm the reason the team disbanded because of my mistake. Alex's parents are dead. That's not true. You can't take the blame for a mission gone wrong. Kody paused, gauging your expression before proceeding. His nose wrinkled as if a smell most foul had infected the camp. One could consider it a betrayal most foul. But what? There's still time to change your mind, Dave. If you don't want to see me as a killer, I really am. Kody, you need to snap out of it. You're not making any sense. What do you mean, killer? What happened? We had passed the crossroads to Firenze along the Venezia main road. The sun had just turned orange, signaling twilight on the horizon. Max had held us to stop and set up camp. We were in the middle of discussing the best place for encampment when it happened. Against the light of the fading sun, 3 creatures were upon us. They moved with such speed for their lumbering sizes that we acted at once. Max fired at them with his crossbow, scattering their formation, keeping the hooves from being startled. Alex was taken aback and stumbled with his electric field. It didn't give White or I enough time to get into position. The beasts flanked either side of the wagons to form carcasses that reeked of nether, bodies coated in chitinous black crystals upon stolen bones and rotting flesh. They were nothing like what the slime creature we fought on the day of the festival. Perhaps we would have stood a chance if they were. They had immediately targeted the cargo, toppling the wagons and devouring the crystals within. Our interests were in protecting the Aegis leaders. Alice's parents, we engaged them as we would any other threat, wary of the potential corruptive nature of their fangs and claws. Maxwell and Alexander guarded the rear, raining ice and lightning from afar, while Raymond and I engaged them in close quarters, making attempts to recover what little cargo we could from their gullets. I don't know how we had keyed in on those first 3 that couldn't tell them apart from the others that joined the fray amid the chaos. Kody paused to take another gulp of water, his breathing becoming ragged as his tail wore on. It was Lady Aegis who would unfortunately make this realization first. She was not a fighter, much like Alice's lab assistant. She was more adept with handling crystal structures. She could assist in maintaining the stability of everyone's focus gems under the extensive use we put them through. It was this level of concentration that prevented her from noticing the creature behind her opening escaping Ma and snaring her arm and pulling her off the carrots. Lord Puritus was the second to fall, attempting to save his wife. 2 more of those beasts ambushed him, tearing to his flesh. Alex's yells sounded so much like those of his father. At that point, the carriage was lost. Max pulled away, acquiring Alex, still trying to get his focus gem to work as Why set the carriage ablaze with the witches still on it. I don't remember much after that. Even reliving those memories for the past years, it remains hazy. Why and I had put up barrels of stone and flame, left in a standoff against them. 2 beasts for each of us, and Alex unable to fight. One of them managed to get through our bulwarks. It had targeted Alex. It happened in a flash. Why was upon the beast, seeing Ma held set by both daggers, and after that all I could see was red. I pounded the beast to a pulp, whatever its height was made of. It didn't break, but I could feel its innards crack under the weight of my fist. I just kept going. The next thing I knew, Maxwell had thrown me to the ground, crossbow trained on me. The bellows and wails of Alex pulling desperately away from Ryan. Max told me that in my rage I had bested or incapacitated a bulk of the creatures, the rest picked off by them or retreating with what little of the gems they got away with. But it was not only the creatures that I had killed. Somehow I had reduced Lady Aegis and Lord Puritus to pace. Kody paused to clear his throat, his expression mildly nauseous. If the real thing were even a quarter as he described it, it would have been hard for you to stomach that memory as well. Kody began to hyperventilate as the first few tears formed around his eyes, mouth flapping as he struggled to find the words. And then we had to cut our losses. It had become dark. The hooves had been scared away or eaten in the scuffle. Any surviving ones that began to develop dark crystals were executed and burned upon the fire. As we did with the remains of his parents, their remains. They would not last the rest of the journey on foot, and so they were burned in a funeral pyre. The next day we forced marched back to Crystal Coast to inform the guildmaster of the grave news. Poor Alex, he only had the long march back to mourn. Upon returning as a long heir to the Aegis Corporation, he was to take on the mantle of leadership. He left the team after that, working with the crystal technicians in the research tower. Master split off from us as well, with the deaths of two of the biggest figures in the community. Their blood was on our hands. The amount of reports he had to fill was unlike anything I'd ever seen him have to do. As for me and why he spent every day trying to convince me that it wasn't my fault. I kept telling him that I had done it, that he needed to lie to me, but he kept insisting. I started putting distance between us. I started apprenticing at the honeysuckle. I didn't think I could put these hands to good use anymore. Why understood, and eventually he let me be. He would still come around to try and chat with me, invited me out like he always did. I would tell him I couldn't, that I was busy, even on the nights the previous owner didn't even ask me to stay. During that time, I heard he was spending time with Alex, but at that point he had taken to him, not in the same way as he did others. He stood by him like he stood by me. I think he wanted to help. And, well, the rest I think you can piece together for yourself. The team was divided and we never got back together. A remarkable retelling, Dima. Alex? No wonder your work in the kiss is near legendary. Emphasis on the near. Kody was still too taken aback by the lengths of sudden intrusion to come up with a response, visibly reeling with the realization that conversation had been eavesdropped. What's it to you? Lynx got your tongue? Kody continued to sputter and stammer. I suppose I did. Well, I did. Alex. Dave, if you don't mind my interruption here, I can fill in the missing pieces for you. The part Kody can't remember, you mean? Precisely. Alex, please, you don't have to. No, I insist. From everything I heard, it sounds like this was something I should have said some time ago. My apologies, Kody. All because I opted for silence, that it had left you tormented for so long like so. It's true I had frozen up at that time. I couldn't concentrate enough to use my foci to cast my magic. It was why that had saved my life in that moment, and Kody finished it off. I was too scared to move in the moment. Even the most brainless combat maneuvers, I had never witnessed Kody so fierce. He tore through his own stone barriers. We thought he had gone mad, taking on the beast on his own. Through the hole in the wall, Kody created a bottleneck for them. Ray and Max provided support from above, and I just sat there cell-sock. By the time the last nether Kuoli was vanquished, the caravan was left in cinders. Ray tended to Kody, who remained in berserk for a while. Max and I went out to seek out my mother and father. They were still alive, and barely. I ran in without thinking. I was just relieved to see them still alive. And that's when I felt my mother's claws rake over my back, tearing my uniform. I let out a cry. I was confused. I heard Ray call out my name, and then Kody pushed past me and attacked my mother. Alex, please, not a word, Dimitri. Had it not been you, it would have had to have been one of us. What do you mean? The reason my mother attacked me was because she had become overtaken by corruption. We still don't know what causes corruption after doing battle with a nether beast. Nor if any remedy can be made for it. All we've known is that the GC neutralizes its spread. The bite my mother sustained in her arm had contaminated her. The bite visibly bruised and showing signs of MRD, mutant resonance degradation. I don't like the sound of that. It's a lot more painful than it sounds, believe you me. Indeed it is. You know about this too, Kody? Yes, it was part of the Academy seminars. The simplest way to put it is a type of poison. A fast-acting poison, in layman's terms. All magics through resonance typically are natural. Resonance can affect the elements of nature, but we cannot affect elements that are not of our resonant frequency. Which is why your ability to resonate with others despite your native element is so fascinating. Nether does not work that way. It relies on disrupting the natural elemental wavelengths in everything. With the injuries they had sustained, their resonance was unraveling. Kody's voice was incredulous, giving the lynx his full attention. Was that not in the seminars? It was, but generally the symptoms don't show up until weeks later. The onset is always slow. That's why I was convinced that they couldn't have turned so quickly. The onset has always been slow because the damage sustained was never great enough to overtake the body's natural frequency. Just like the body can heal from scrapes and scratches, most of the nether inflictions were realigned by the body's own rhythms. The injuries my parents sustained were anything but trivial. The effect was quicker of their mates than it was on their bodies, which is why we didn't notice right away. If you hadn't put her down, one of the others would have. Guild code of ethics. But Max and you were. Max threw you down, prepared an ice bolt to hold you in place until you calmed down. It wasn't because I tried to kill you two. Link shook his head. And you were crying because I was naive. I thought we could have saved them. These past 2 years researching the nether infected has cured me of that notion. So that means it wasn't my fault? It had never been your fault. Can't you see how hard Ray tried to convince you? Yes, but his excuses or anything that he might have come up with died on his tongue under the lynx's glare. Then, Alex, you don't blame me for their deaths? Maker's mercy, you dumb bear. I never applied any of that to begin with. And why? Nuh-uh, I'm not speaking for him. You asked him yourself. I can't believe it was that simple. And yet you two are so stupid. Alex continued to mutter and berate Kody under his breath as he stomped back to the Kai. Well, I guess that's that. I do think you're right. We should start preparing to put Kody. Had no idea. And that's all there was to it. All of our lives, a pendant in a single evening. Kody, thank you for telling me. You were at a loss for what to say. If what he said was true, there wasn't much solace you could offer for the guilt he had. The sound of his footsteps caught your attention as he approached you to give you a brief embrace. Thanks, Dave, I needed that. Maybe I can build the courage. The sound of rustling grass catch your attention as Max and Ray returned to the camp with triumphant, bloody smiles on their faces. We got the meat. Double you think you can handle it. Welcome back. Whoa, those are some impressive catches. Max handed over a large humpback creature which he could vaguely identify as a Borax. You held back a laugh, wondering if that was all the Malamute ate. A Borax and an Oxeer. There's enough here for dinner, breakfast, and a little extra for the pantry. You couldn't tell too well what the other beast was supposed to be, already skinned and gutted when Ray placed it down in front of you. Oh, this looks like a lot of meat to cut up. How much do you think there is in there? An educated guess would say around a combined 80 kilos. Difficult to say without a scale. That sounds about right. Wait, you guys use metrics? Why, yes. As a matter of fact, always has been the case in East Paleria. We also measure by pounds in Crystal Coast too. Merchants often have both units on display. That's convenient. Guys, should we focus on something more important? Yeah, that's some neat little factoid and all, but surely one got away more than the other, scale or no? Wait, that's right, we didn't bring a scale. I'll sue. Guess this little soul match was doomed from the start. I say you both brought about the same amount. The two hunters deflated faster than their stomachs as they were forced to swallow their pride. You looked between them, trying to find something encouraging to say before they spun back up into laughter. Oh well, looks like a tie. I'll take first night watch. You always take first watch. Let me handle it. Nah, I can handle it. I'll get you as soon as I get tired. How's that? Fine. Try not to stay up all night, though. You guys can discuss that over dinner. For now, you should both get washed up before you attract flies to the camp. Right, off we go. Can't wait to see what you make out of it, Kody. Oh, before you go, Max, can you chill the ice boxes? I need them pretty soon. Sure thing, Kody. Wouldn't want all that meat to go to waste. And can you fill up the water jug again, Alex? I suppose. But why can't you send Dave? I need him here. Hurry up before Wyatt gets too far ahead of you. Alright, fine. Hey, wait up. And Dave, thanks for getting me to talk about that, Dave. I think it'll get easier if I can tell the others the same thing. And why can't you? Alice already knew about the misunderstanding. Why can't you tell the others? But maybe in due time, I still feel responsible for what happened then. Right. But that's enough about that. Help me chop up this meat to put it away. Yes, sir. Well, now that we're all here, let's dig in. With the florist, the bear plopped 5 plates with steamed rice, pouring into the piping pot aromatic curry onto it as they were passed around to each of you. Alongside that, he produced a flat board of side dishes for everyone to take. You've never had fish and curry before, yet somehow Kody really made it work, along with the boards, meat, and the sausages. The typical overpowering fishy stench you expected was not present at all. Instead, the fish meats were rendered tender and very flavorful in the curry. This was looking to be quite the hearty and filling meal after all. Just like that morning, the group ate between bouts of rowdy behavior amongst themselves. Mostly jokes and chats between Max and Ray. Then came the occasional flustered quips from Alex and Kody offering everyone more food. Kody seemed in high spirits for the rest of the night, eating and making merry with Ray and Max. The three displayed a dynamic you only caught glimpses of before, the bear carrying himself with mirth as the three caroused. Alex only watched on from the side, somewhat wistful at their camaraderie, but nevertheless happy to see them enjoy themselves again. For your part, Kody and Ray will always try to pull you into the conversation before devolving into familiar bickering among friends. You could feel a blush spreading over your face as you drink in their intoxicating positivity. All in all, it was a pleasant time all around. As dinner wound down, everyone moved on to their respective night tasks. Matt set off to take the first night watch as Ray returned to his tent to rest early for when his turn came. Alex returned to his tent, set up adjacent to his equipment to keep an eye on the woodings overnight. That left me with Kody to wash the dishes and put away the leftovers the bear had put aside his armor for the time being. The food was great as always, Kody. Thanks, Dave. But it was a team effort. Wouldn't have been as delicious without the boar's meat. And the sides too. Yep, I'm glad you liked it. Even had seconds too. Ooh, yeah. Maybe that was a bad idea. I'm stuffed now. Eat until you burst, that's what my father would say. But maybe someday, just not today. Heh, suit yourself. So what are you going to do now, Dave? I think I'll stay out here and keep you company for a while. Are you sure? It gets awfully cold out in the forest at night. I'm sure. We got the fire here, and I have you here if I need any extra warmth. Well, if you say so. So you change your mind, just head back to your tent. Don't worry about me. I know. You moved over from your spot to log with Kody. He didn't move out of the way, save for when he had put the things into the supply tent or the cart. The two of you didn't say much, giving you time to think around the campsite more closely. You had gotten to see the glade before you had occupied it with the tents and machinery. It did make you a bit concerned if you were causing problems for the Kai being here. Say, Kody, is it really okay for us to be here? At the Kai, I mean? Do you mean with the camp and everything else? Yeah. Well, yes, it should be fine for us to be here. It is the first time the guild has come to investigate the tree. That's why it's regulated with a permanent system. The Kai doesn't seem to mind the occasional intrusion. Look toward the tree, following its crystal-studded bark to its distant canopy that reached high into the sky. With the silence of the forest upon you, the inconspicuous thrumming from the tree could be heard more clearly, like an air conditioner running in the background, doing its job diligently, keeping the nether at bay. See the familiar simmering seal beyond its evergreen boughs is quite reminded you of the fractured seal that held above the city. And just a little further from that, you can see the stars and errant clouds. For as surreal as the circumstances were, it was comforting to be out in nature. Dave, you seem really pensive. What's on your mind? Well, you told me earlier. Oh, do you? Regret hearing about it now? No, not particularly. You just gave me a lot to think about. Really? What about? Well, just this whole hero thing. You paused, not really sure how to go on. With the roles reversed, eventually you let your words trail off. Kody's weight sank the log, slightly as he sat beside you, finally finished with the evening's preparations. Don't think about it too much, okay? I mean, how could I not? The stakes had been so low thanks to the Golden Crystal and the Akai keeping the worst of what's out there at bay. Linus, that nether slug was less of a threat than I realized. And that was just a crack in the barrier. If all that is out there, can I really make a difference? Can I really be the hero? Do I want to be the guy everything hinges on? Listen, Dave, I can't answer any of that for you. I don't think any of us can. What I can say is this, you can count on us to help you find out. Hero, maybe something more. We'll help you figure out your purpose here, Dave. He pulled you in for a hug. You caught the faint smell of ass on his shirt, mixed in with his scent as he pressed you close to him. Thanks, Kody. Nah, I should be the one thanking you. It could go both ways. Kody only exhaled quietly, choosing not to retort as you remained in his embrace. His warm body, the pop and crackling of the fire, a short distance away, lulled you into sleep. You listened to Kody's gentle breathing as your eyes fluttered and closed, only to be interrupted when he finally spoke up. Not an off day? Don't you think you should go lay down in your tent? He buried your face back into the crook of his neck, letting his arm drape over you even more. Nah, you're a good enough bed. Alright, you can stay a little bit longer. Nuzzling his snout beneath your bangs, Kody pressed his lips to your forehead. You would be having the biggest smile on your face if you weren't already dozing off so quickly. Good night, Dave. Good night, Kody. To be continued. That was day 13 for Kody. So we got to learn a lot more about the relationship between Kody and Ray. And we also got to learn more about Alex and how his family died, which was very sad. And Kody, he's been feeling guilty. He's been feeling guilty about it throughout the years, and I think it took Dave for Kody to really get out of that somewhat. You know, because Alex was nearby. And he heard it, and Alex just kept on telling him that it was his fault, and that while Kody did go crazy, it could have been either of them that went crazy. I think the monster thing that attacked them just so happened to go after Kody, I guess. And he went crazy and did something horrible and killed his parents, even though he didn't. I mean, it could have been any of them, but Alex was mad at Kody, but it wasn't because he accused him of killing his parents, but it's because he spent these years thinking that he was guilty, and that really made Alex mad, and he told Kody that it wasn't his fault. He even said he was stupid for thinking that he was dumb. So Kody certainly has some self-esteem issues, and he's quick to blame himself for stuff that really isn't his fault. And I hope he gets over it with that whole thing. Because, it really took Dave for Alex to let Kody know that it wasn't his fault, and that he was dumb for wasting these years being guilty over something that wasn't his fault. So Dave really is helping all the characters, and these are the roots: Max, Ray, and Alex, and now Kody. So one by one, Dave is making a positive impact on the four characters. So this is what they all need, because they've been through a lot. So next time we'll begin a new chapter, and I think it should be for Alex. So thank you all very much for watching. Goodbye.